Hello, I'm the FanFic Critic. I read it, you listen. I really have been trying to escape this fandom. I really have been trying. But this one story I'm going to review, well, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to review it. I previously reviewed it on fanfiction.net, as a written review under, my profile name there, but I had to do a real review. This is yet another Sweeney Todd fanfic. This will be my 4th Sweeney Todd fanfiction. And I know you guys are probably getting so sick of hearing Sweeney Todd, but you want to know what? It seems like this fandom has the most fanfics that need my critique, to put it lightly. Today's fanfic, you may ask? Well, it's called Hush Love Hush by toujourspret. It's rated M. It's in English. It's Nellie L and Toby R. And it has 4 reviews, one of them being mine. And I'll probably read it to you after I finish this story. Now, by the 2 characters they named, Nellie and Toby, aka Mrs. Lovett and Toby, you can probably take a while to guess what's going to be taking place in this fanfic. Before I spoil anything else, let's get right into it. Bear with me. Hush Love Hush. Toby's limbs were weakly compliant as she gently roused him. He'd been kipping on Nellie's parlor sofa for a week, and she wasn't heartless. The lad had to be feeling the old springs in the small of his back by now. She wasn't a damned fool either. She'd said not a word to Mr. T about her tiny parlor or the way she stumbled over the libe every morning on her way to the bakery. It'd be better for everyone involved, and Mr. T thought the sofa was enough, and there was no sense if he tried to board the lad up in the shop. Sooner or later, he'd smell the death that dripped through the floorboards into the pie shop, and really, there just wasn't room up there anyway. No, she thought as she woke Toby with carefully caressing fingertips. This was the best solution for everybody. If there was a little incentive in it for her, well, who could deny a poor little old, well, though not too old, widow a bit of cheer? Her Alfred had been gone these 6 years, and with Mr. T being so shy-like, she figured a woman's got to get a bit of cheer from someplace, and as her eyes raked over the supine figure below her, she figured that this was as good a place as any. He was a fine young lad, fit and strong and loyal like a dog. Maybe a little young, yes, a little bit young, but you can catch the pup younger and you don't have to teach the dog so many tricks, she thought. Besides, it could perhaps distract him from his near consistent wondering about the Italian barber, which was as good a reason as any, really. Those long, firm limbs her fingers were raking over didn't hurt the idea at all. Smirking to herself, she carefully slipped a red lacquered nail beneath the button at the boy's collar, popping it open. She didn't see how he managed to sleep so confined anyway. Nellie herself was breezily cool in just a shift, a draught from the cellar twining around her ankles and causing her skin to break out in goose flesh. The boy was near feverish, though, sweat slicking his hair dark to his forehead. His hair dark to his forehead? Don't you mean his dark hair to his forehead? To help him out, she popped another button, and then another, until her fingertips were resting on the laces of his trousers, and his chest was glistening in the dark light shimmering off the banked coals in the fireplace. She traced an idle pattern over his chest with red nails, watching the muscle shift beneath the skin. "Ma'am?" The voice was soft, muzzy with sleep and confusion. Nellie bit her lip and darted her eyes up to Toby's. She waited for the realization to sink in, waited for him to shrink back or strike her, but his face was guileless as he stared up at her. You fell asleep in your clothes, dearling. I was only trying to help you out. You look so uncomfortable there in your full kit, so I thought you'd sleep better with a few less layers on. Saul, she murmured reassuringly. Toby's eyes widened, and he clutched his open shirt closed with one hand. Oh, no, ma'am. It ain't right, me sleepin' half undressed with a lady in the next room. People think such awful things, and me wrecking your honor just to sleep more comfortable. He frowned fiercely. Nellie's hand stilled his fingers as he tried to rebutton his shirt. But aren't you too hot? She asked, scratching his stomach gently. Toby's eyes widened further, and he frowned. To be honest, ma'am, I'm half meltin' in here, but I weren't gonna say nothin', seeing as ma'am's let me stay here out of the goodness of her heart, he admitted. Well, that settles it, she says cheerfully, lifting the shirt off his shoulders. You needn't worry about my virtue, dearling. I was a married woman once, but there's not a man touched me in many a year since. Toby blushed at that, cheeks lighting up so brightly that their pinkness was visible in the darkened parlor. Not a one that's wanted to either, she added, beetling. Why, that can't be true, ma'am, Toby cried indignantly. Maybe there's a man just been waiting to ask you to marry him and move you off to the country. Maybe you don't know the man yet. Maybe he's someone you don't think about marrying, but all he can think about at night is you. Nellie chuckled softly, smoothing his sweaty black hair from his forehead. You think so, do you? A thought struck her suddenly, catching in her throat. Mr. T? You think Mr. T wants to make an honest woman out of me? Toby looked away, shifty in his denial. Maybe, he said finally. You just never know. It's what I always say. Never know from the day to day what the Lord's got planned for you. Why, this is time last week I thought I was done for. Back to the workhouse for poor old Toby, and scratching for a crust of bread 'cause the Signori was done with me. But you stepped in like an angel of mercy and saved me from it all. And just a week before that, I thought I was going to go on being slapped around and sleeping on the street while Signori took up the whole cart. But look where I am now. There's even a fire here and company to talk to, and no more scratchy wigs, he added, itching a bit at the memory.